Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, co-editor-in-chief of Retail Insider. Joining me today is George Minakakis, who is CEO and founder of Inception Retail Group. Thanks, George, for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, let's talk about a new book that you've got out. What's it called and what's it about?
Okay, so it's called Predictive Leadership. I actually have a copy of it here. It finally came.
There we
And
go.
it's how humans, subtitled, how humans and AI will transform organizations, innovation, and competition. It's a long subtitle, but it's relevant. Um, Mary, I started 18 months ago. I started doing a whole bunch of research. Let me back it up. So several years ago, I was taking a whole bunch of courses from MIT and other universities to study artificial intelligence. And when ChatGPT came out, I thought, wow, this is quite the evolution, and what are the implications are. And so 18 months ago, I was started diving into this and saying to myself, as a CEO, and I've been a CEO running multinational companies, and I am a board director of a utility as well, or the chair of a utility, and so I've got a lot of experience. And I'm saying, oh, so what is the board going to do? What is the CEO going to do? What are the executives going to do with artificial intelligence? Because not all of them are technology experts. They have to rely on them. And what would the impact be? And I started getting fascinated by all the data that I was actually coming across. And I'm gonna stick to retailing because it's what our discussion is about. But I was shocked to learn that 4.2% of Canadian retailers are the only ones interested in developing their AI capabilities. And that's from Statistics Canada. And I thought, that can't be right. I went back and looked it over and said, no, it is right. And it's very current, right? So, and then, for color, 10 points of all industries in Canada, only 10.6% of them are see a need for AI in their business. The other 89.4% think they don't believe there's a need for AI. And I think, am I living in the right universe? What's going on here? So we decided, because we were writing the book, we decided that we're going to do some market research, and we started researching employees and asking them, so where's your company at in terms of AI development? Are you moving along? Are you sophisticated? Are you having struggles? Or is there no interest? Mario, 77% of them said that their company has no interest in AI.
Wow.
Well, that correlates exactly with what Stats Canada is showing. And Stats Canada actually did not interviewed 9,000 companies.
Hmm.
So it's a staggering number of companies. And I thought, well, wow, this is this is scary. But it helped me better understand what are we looking at now, right? So what you're seeing is the companies that are growing, they're going to become very super sophisticated with their their AI infrastructure to a level where they're going to be very, very, very responsive in a marketplace. And one company that's Canadian, Loblaws, for example, if you go in on their site, as I understand it, and you do with the Optima card, you can actually their AI system can actually identify what you're looking for and create an instant ad and show it to you.
Hmm.
In the past, in our old world, right, any idea like that had to be created by a human being, right? It had to be, articulated in terms of what images we want, what's the messaging we want, what the brands we're going to offer. That's a lot of work. That doesn't take minutes. That takes days or weeks.
Yeah.
So um, that's how instant and responsive things are going to become. So my question was, how are CEOs going to actually work with this? I mean, how are they going to compete in an environment that it's so inundated by this level of technology?
Yeah.
So the book itself is written in 5 parts, and I try to be as funny as I can be, which is very limited. Uh, I see, I got you laughing. But it's the first part is human intelligence, and I take a real good stab at how we first started as humans, looking for future views and how to understand the future. We used to throw bones on the ground and look at how they fell, and and others would see an oracle. which happened to be, it was in Greece, by the way, but this oracle would sit by this place, and they didn't know it, but some methane gas was coming up and was making them hallucinate. So they would come up with futuristic ideas, but people are making decisions on these things, but that kind of perpetuated. So how else have we done that? And coming along, and we've evolved. But the thing that struck me the most is that wherever the human work was being done, technology didn't always reduce the human work. It actually augmented the human work.
Hmm.
With the exception, of course, if you were one of those pallet carriers 5,000 years ago that carried the rich around, I think the invention of the wheel made you happy, right? So that's on the human intelligence side. We were developing our aptitude for understanding things. Then there's machine intelligence, and I dove into the history of everything, and fascinated that there was I'm going to call it a patent or a plan to have created a computer in the year 1600. Right? So we go far back into history in terms of innovation and they were referring to data as information, and links. It was very interesting, and how far back we go to, and create when we created the calculator. The Gutenberg press, which you're probably familiar with, was the first technology that actually, I can't say that it actually it made us more innovative quickly, but it certainly helped educate more of us, right? The idea, because it actually printed the first broad street newspapers,
Huh.
and the first thing it printed was the Bible, right? Because before it used to be all these scribes. So machine intelligence came along and started changing things. But I really take a deep dive into the historical part of it and how we ended up creating different types of technology. And then I dove into the industrial revolutions from the first to the fifth. What's interesting is, now when I say to people the fifth, they go, no, we're in the fourth. And I said, no, we are now in the fifth industrial revolution, in the beginning of it, but it is very much the beginning of the fifth, and not the end of the fourth. But they're merging, and so we're seeing technology being integrated with older technology and elevating. It's getting elevated, augmented, so we can do more.
Hmm.
Then I went into organizational intelligence, because that kind of dovetailed into that. And I looked at how companies were actually operating and what their structures were like 100 years ago, 150 years ago. And it was interesting that 100 years ago, it could take 50 to 60 days for a company to make decisions. Today, it's 2 or 3 days, right? With AI, who knows? It's probably going to be seconds. But what's interesting though, 100 years ago, is that we had a lot of data. I mean, fascinating that we had all these layers in organizations, right? Floors upon floors of people who were responsible for different functions, and hundreds of people working, typists and stenographers. It was just amazing. But all this data was being collected in file cabinets. So, you had to go back. Somebody had to control those filing cabinets, know wherever all the information was. If the CEO wanted it, who knows how long it took to find it and bring it back.
Yeah.
I remember a story years ago when in the 90s, when I worked for PepsiCo. I met a guy from the UK who said to me that somebody brought him a paper that they wrote. He said it was that thick, and they put it on the desk for him to read, and he didn't read it. And I said, what are you going to do with it? He goes, well, if it's important enough, somebody's going to come back and summarize it in 2 pages for me. So that kind of kicks you and says, okay, this is reality, right?
Yeah.
This is what we're really looking for. We're looking for instant information and being able to use it, quickly. But 100 years ago, though, we were living in a world of instinct and gumptions, right? That we ran companies on instinct. We created ideas out of our own mind, but it was okay. And why? Because everybody did the same thing, right? Everybody said, oh, I got a better idea. I'm going to do this. And it worked. It doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And if you look at, and you've been around long enough with retailing, if you look at all the retailers that have failed over the years, right? They got stuck in a paradigm that, with the technology we have, and believe me, the number of executives I've heard say this, we have enough technology to take us into the next 2 decades. No, you don't. The problem is technology is evolving so quickly, no one can keep up with it. And you know, I dove into personalization and customer personalization as well to better understand what's happening there. And it was interesting to see that with every evolution of technology, the amount of personalization that customers demand goes higher, but they want it instantly, right? It's about instant gratification now. So all the bells and whistles that you threw at me, 10 years ago, and it might have taken a lot of people. Now I want it instantly, but I want the same feeling, the same experience, but I want it right away. How do you do that? Right? Well, technology is going to be the only means to deliver it.
Yeah.
And artificial intelligence is the way that it's going to go.
Yeah.
So the fourth part of the book was competitive intelligence. And I referred to a new customer revolution happening. And that has to do with artificial intelligence, AI, personal AI agents. And by the way, I have not, in the book, I didn't go down the rabbit hole of using all these acronyms and new technological terms because they're continuously changing. So a reader could get lost in it. So I kept it very simple. A personal AI agent is a personal AI agent, right? It's your concierge, cater to you. And the technology that's coming out now is making that more possible. And I believe that we're going to see an AI wall come up where it's going to change how we compete and how we can reach consumers. If you look at Google today and all search engines, we're already saying we're going from search to ask engines. But at the end of the day, what's happening is that consumers are saying, I really don't like sitting in front of a computer to search anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather ask the question. I'd rather have the answer.
Yeah.
So search engines are becoming the old yellow pages. I won't name companies, but they are becoming slow, right? And time consuming. And again, it just reinforces the need for convenience. So technology is doing that. And then you and I talked about branding the last time. And I have a chapter on it, on competitive intelligence, which is called raise brand intelligence to brand resilience. And there are 5 elements to it. It's about responsive intelligence, which means being faster. Authentic connections, which is about the personalization. The I is innovative collaboration, so it's working cross-functionally in the organization, and organizations overlapping with one another, and suppliers. And the S stands for sustainable growth, developing the capabilities and remaining more competitive and relevant. And the E stands for empowered intelligence, which means giving your people the tools they need to do their jobs with technology. And fascinating, I saw something the other day that the percentage of companies that are actually using AI is very low, except in India and China, where the numbers are much higher.
Mm.
Canada and the US, the percentage of companies providing AI tools to their employees is low. Employees are bringing AI tools to work, a big proportion of them. So that's really interesting. And I think that's a message to companies that it's time to do things. And the last part has to do with intelligent democracy. And I think you'll love my statement about this one. So it is about retailing. It's about the proliferation of AI and putting good ethics in place, but it's also the geopolitics of this. And politically here at home, we're always talking about innovation and productivity not being high enough in Canada. Well, I did the research on this. As it turns out, one of the biggest reasons that innovation and productivity is low in Canada, we can blame government, but actually it's companies not investing. So if they're not investing in technology, their ability to innovate and improve productivity and be more competitive themselves actually diminishes over time. So again, you come back to the retailers who weren't able to survive. It's exactly why. They did not innovate and they didn't invest.
Yeah.
So the book is actually 366 pages long. It was quite a mammoth feat to write it. A lot of rewriting, a lot of fun in rewriting. And sometimes I said, I wrote that, got to rewrite that. I can't leave that without. But what I've done there's a conclusion to the book, but I've also added a letter to CEOs and executives, which I won't say what it says here.
Okay.
I'll have the book to read it themselves. But let's just say it's advice and a warning.
So
And
tell me, George, why the reluctance of companies to adapt and adopt AI?
I, I admire companies because they have this idea that they're resilient and that what they are doing is going to last for a long time. And they also, a lot of executives believe they have time,
Hmm.
right? But what it comes down to is the financial resources and the human resources, the talent to make this happen. But the technology has evolved, Mario, so much that you and I could start our own AI company tomorrow. Yeah, because there's low code, no code applications, APIs that are all available as tools from ChatGPT and other companies to help you create your own AI platforms and in any way you want. And I've already heard of a couple of people who have already done this. So there's no reason, there's no excuses, and there are companies out there like Salesforce that are offering AI applications to companies, right? There's no excuse anymore. The
Hmm.
technology is there. I've a neighbor who works for MicroStrategy, and they took me through their platform. They have a dashboard, and that dashboard allows you to see the data, today's data, yesterday's sales or real-time sales, and you can actually connect with AI on that dashboard and ask it questions about what could be driving this. You
Hmm.
couldn't do that, right? So why you would not want to invest in this is beyond me. I mean, today I would not want to be running a company without all this technology.
Interesting. Yeah. And yet so many so many are reluctant for whatever reasons, right? And you know what? I don't know. I think that goes beyond retailers. It's just companies in general. I come from a mainstream media background, and I you know and I swear to this day that's one of the reasons mainstream is in trouble. They didn't adapt and adopt the new technologies out there and the new trends out there in the industry. And I often wonder why companies are like that. It's like, why are we doing what we're doing? Because this is the way we've always done it type thing, right?
Yeah, yeah, and you just, I mean, I think even Warren Buffett at one time, there were two things he couldn't understand. Apparently, he couldn't understand why anybody would pay for a bottle of water and why people would bother with the internet. Right? He didn't get it. He gets it now, of course. I mean,
Yeah.
he's one of the biggest holders of Apple. But I think that this is a cycle of time, right? But unfortunately, the way technology has moved, things happen so fast today, and decisions are made so quickly that time is now a commodity that you can't afford to waste. And I think that it is being wasted in by trying to either pacifying yourself. It's I'll tell you what, in data, I've done, as you know, I do a lot of public speaking too to private companies, and we did a couple of presentations that I've done. I shared that data will become an asset within companies. And over the past years, a couple of decades, companies didn't want to spend money on digital marketing because they couldn't see the return on investment. And today, I'm telling them, you know what your return on investment is? Data. That's your return. The more you collect, the more you're probably going to find something there that's going to give you insights to why they're not buying or why your marketing is not working,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
To your point about the mainstream media. I mean, had you done that, had they done that, right, they would have been further ahead in terms of maybe not losing advertising, which was the biggest issue. It's been the biggest issue, and
Yeah.
leadership.
Yeah. That's exactly it. Yeah. So, George, where can people find the book?
So look, 70% of all books are sold on Amazon. That is a fact.
Yeah.
Uh, so you can find it on Amazon. It's a lot easier, or a participating bookstore.
Okay. Wonderful. Anything else you wanted to mention, George, before we sign off?
No, you know what I'm going to mention is that the I encourage everyone to read this book, to learn as much as they can about AI, and how its implications and its applications. A lot of executives are reaching out to me and saying, what should I study? And I'm telling them anything, even if you don't have time for a course, read a book.
Hmm.
Read a
Okay,
book.
wonderful. Thanks, George, for joining us today.
Mara, thank you.
All right, that was George Minakakis, who is CEO and founder of Inception Retail Group. I'm Mario Toneguzzi, co-editor-in-chief of Retail Insider. Thanks for joining us today.